Hello and welcome to Microsoft Virtual Academy. My name is Brad Joseph, and today I'm here to deliver a 6-module crash course on preparing for the Windows 8.1 MCSA. Now, this first module is intended to be an overview, and I will provide to you what an MCSA is, kind of an explanation of that. Also, what the associated exams are for the Windows 8.1 MCSA. There are 2. And also provide the range of scope and topics that would be encountered if you were to sit down and take both of those exams. So essentially the skills and technical aptitude that would be required in order for you to successfully pass both of those exams and subsequently get that MCSA for Windows 8.1. Also, I'm going to give you a few pointers to learning resources that would be very valuable for studying for these exams. So when I say pointers to resources, we're talking about resources that Microsoft has available to you for free. So we're talking about TechNet, the library there, which the IT Pro library is, as you probably well know. Also, there are TechNet labs that are worth going out and kind of kicking the tires on. So you can do break-fix labs, scenarios that we'll see later in this explanation of this course. You'll see that you can actually do and go out and implement. So that's a great resources. Also, I'm going to show you a couple of resources that we have available from Microsoft Press, books that help you study specifically for these exams, and I find these very valuable. And lastly, the MVA courses themselves. That's what we're doing right now. This is an MVA course. And there's a lot of courses out there right now for the Windows 8.1 Enterprise Desktop Technician. That's you. Someone who supports an organization that's medium to large to enterprise. And we cover a lot of topics such as Windows 8.1 deployment. We go into great depth there with the Microsoft Deployment Toolkit. Creating images, rolling those images out, managing those images with System Center Configuration Manager 2012 R2. We also have a very good course out there on Windows 8.1 performance, and we're talking about performance not on just these individual machines, but across your entire enterprise, how to monitor that and how to optimize that. Another one I very strongly encourage you to go take a look at, and that's Windows 8.1 security. An issue right now that's coming up as far as IT managers or IT pros worried about these bring your own device scenarios, where people actually bring their devices into the organization, and how do we manage this, and how do we selectively wipe off some of the corporate data. So I will be pushing MVA in this intro, and that's a great resource, so I'll be keep pointing you back to that. But let's take a look at these other 5 modules, modules 2 through module 6. Now, these modules are the product of a recent conversation I had with a very respected Microsoft certified trainer named Zachary Neiman. Now, he came in and I had the opportunity to actually pick his brain and ask him some questions like, what's the best approach for taking the 2 exams associated with the Windows 8.1 MCSA? And what do you think are the topic areas that someone would be quizzed on? And so he gave us some examples of those techniques, best practices, those topic areas, and went through many of the technologies and tools that you would encounter and need to prepare for if you were to take those exams. And so that was a very good experience, and the result of that are these 5 modules. Now, the first couple of modules are kind of like go-do modules. And they will give you a list. He gives you a list of some of the tools and some of the technologies that you need to be familiar with. So that's one of those situations where you look at it and go, okay, I understand it. I'm going to go out to TechNet, or I'm going to go to some book, or I'm going to go to some blog, or maybe an MVA video and understand it. There are a couple more modules, maybe modules 3 and 4, where it actually kind of digs a little deeper. And so he'll walk through the tool, explain the interface, and explain the purpose. And the last 2 modules are actually much more in-depth. So he'll start off by showing you how to configure, why you'd configure it, some of the tools that are used in conjunction, and then the result. And actually, in some cases, the result is not satisfactory, and how you go back and you fix that. So the idea here in this crash course is to give you the range of, this is what I need to know and memorize, kind of rote learning. These are the tools I need to know and be familiar with, part of a suite. When we think of suites, we think of MDOP, and System Center has some tools and features in there that you kind of need to know in order to understand the Windows 8.1 Enterprise Desktop, so we touch on that a bit. App Locker is another great example where he goes deeper in those later modules, so you understand how App Locker works, how you would configure it, and the results of that. So these five remaining modules really are just kind of a snapshot of what you would need to know, the depth and breadth of knowledge and skills on this domain. The next slide here actually is just to give you an idea what this is all about. So this course, this 6-module course that we're doing right now, is really designed for the IT professional who wants to study for these 2 exams that relate to the MCSA for Windows 8.1. And those 2 exams are 7-687, and that's configuring Windows 8.1. And the other exam is 7-688, and that's supporting Windows 8.1. Also, we're probably talking to a few individuals out there that already possess or are in possession of, the MCSA for Windows 7. So if you have that MCSA and you want to upgrade your skills to Windows 8.1, then you would take exam 7-689, which is upgrading your skills to Windows 8.1. And that would be the best pathway for that. Profile. Okay, who are we talking to? We're talking to IT pros. Probably someone who's been sitting on a help desk for a while, working their way up level 1, level 2, level 3, escalation of more difficult enterprise problems that exist, or fixes that need to occur while you're working with your customers or your user base. We expect that you have some sort of a touch or understanding of Active Directory domain services, so you understand how that works. Understanding of a group policy. Work with peer-to-peer networks, subnets, kind of get the idea how that works, how DNS, HTTP, that sort of thing. There's probably some internet touch there as well. So a lot of companies now are bringing in a lot of these cloud services, whether they're customer relation services, or whether you're using compute services out there in the cloud, maybe in Azure, or using storage, a filing cabinet, putting a lot of your files out there. So I'm sure a lot of your users that you're supporting on the desktop actually do go beyond that desktop scope. They work within your network and many of the resources out there, and they also go beyond that. You need to support them as they go out into the internet and use some of the web services that are available right now, cloud services. And the last bullet is probably the most important part, and it's most germane to this actual course, this 6-module course, and that is a self-directed learning. So when we talk about self-directed learning, this is the first place you start. This course is to kind of excite you, get you interested, and make you realize it's really not that difficult to prepare for both of these exams. It's not that difficult to go out there and grab that MCSA for Windows 8.1. And so you can start with a video, get an idea. You can use books. You can grab a book, any kind of book that relates to Windows 8.1, but I recommend these ones that are targeted toward the exams themselves. Blogs, there's a lot of good blogs out there, and I want to point you to one that we have locally here at Microsoft. There's a lot of Microsoft properties that cover Windows 8.1, but the ones like the Springboard site, great for when it comes to deployment, great for when it comes to security, and great for when it comes to performance. Always updated, so you take a look at those. That information is always tied directly to the latest in these exams, because these exams do keep up to date and relevant. So it augments your real world experience. And so to put it in a nutshell, you're somebody that's an IT pro. You're interested in advancing your career. You can study on your own. You go out and take those exams. You get that credential, and what that means is that's potentially your next raise, or potentially your next job, or potentially the thing that you want to put on LinkedIn or your resume to show that you understand, that you have the depth of knowledge and the skills acquisition for understanding Windows 8.1. All right, quick summary on this slide here. Spoke a bit about these two exams, but I just want to make it crystal clear here. There are two exams. The nomenclature is 7-687, not really intuitive, but the important thing is configuring Windows 8.1. That exam needs to be passed. Exam 70688, supporting Windows 8.1. You pass that one, you pass the one before it, and you end up with the Microsoft Certified Solutions Associate MCSA 8.1. It's really that simple. In the bottom right-hand corner of that slide gives you more information, so I would suggest that you click on that and get an idea what an MCSA is. And this isn't the only one, of course. Microsoft offers many MCSAs and MCSEs for Windows Server 2012 R2. There are certifications for SharePoint. There's certification for System Center Configuration Manager. There's certifications for the developer too, so it's a great place to go and get an idea. It kind of helps you figure out how you want to run your career path. Maybe you're interested in staying on the desktop and working in more of the desktop management. Maybe you're interested in moving ahead on the desktop, getting more touch on the network, and moving into some of those MCSCs for the server. So go out and take a look at what's available there. This last slide is just kind of a reiteration of what I said earlier. Maybe you're one of those people that has the MCSA for Windows 7, and it was formerly known as the Microsoft Certified IT Professional for Windows 7. It's later was called the Microsoft Certified Solutions Associate, or MCSA, for Windows 7. If you have that credential, you can go ahead and take exam 7-689, upgrading your skills to MCSA Windows 8.1. And that will give you that MCSA to Windows 8.1 pretty quickly. The exam's not quite as evolved as those other two exams because the idea is you have knowledge from the previous MCSA, which would be Windows 7. So a lot of this exam for 8.1 does have that legacy Windows 7 as it applies to the basics of the network or basics of managing a desktop. Group policy is an example of that. Now here, I listed these exams and links to those exams, and I'm going to actually kind of pick on configuring Windows 8.1. So I'm going to click that link. And what it does is it takes us out to the site, on the learning site. And you'll notice right away we're right at the right place. Exam 70687, title, configuring Windows 8.1. There's the cost associated with taking that exam. You can register. You can go ahead and register online, and what happens is it goes out and finds the nearest test center that you can go to. And so it's very easy and convenient to register, schedule it, and Prometrics listed here as a center that you would go to. Kind of a funny little aside, if you look in the middle here, there's a link here called Convince Your Boss. And what it is pretty much a canned email for how to write an email to your boss to actually kind of say, hey, this is something I want to do. And so I'll expand my knowledge, improve my technical skills, earning this certification. And what the certification is, and there's a line down here, if I pass this certification will improve my ability to work with Windows 8.1, and that Microsoft has the training and online resources to help me prepare. So that's sort of what I'm trying to say here, which is you don't need to go and say I need additional training. All of the resources are available to do that. Let's move a bit further down on this page for the configuring Windows 8.1, and there's a section here that's the most important called Skills Measured, and this is the same thing as what we call internally the objective domain, or the objectives in the areas in which you will be tested. And let's start with the first one, install and upgrade Windows 8.1. You'll notice there are 7 of these, so there are 7 high-level topics for configuring Windows 8.1, and they're weighted. So the first one is 10 to 15%. Down around, I guess it would be the 5th one, it's 15 to 20%. What that means is if there were 100 questions, you can expect 10 to 15 questions to come from the install and upgrade to Windows 8.1 section, that technical, that area, those particular areas where you need to understand the concepts and the tools associated with it. Let's open that up a bit, because you can open up each one of these as a tree control. It gets a little bit more granular. Evaluate hardware readiness and compatibility. Install Windows 8.1. We're talking about some of the things, not just a regular OSD or operating system, but also Windows to go. Upgrading from Windows 7 to Windows 8 and 8.1. Install a VHD so you can boot to VHD. Migrate and configure user data. So those are just that's just an example of 3 of those topic areas that would fall under install and upgrade Windows 8.1, which is 10 to 15% of that exam. The most important part of this, though, and I hope this is the biggest takeaway, is right here under the preparation of resources, you actually are pointed out to, mostly TechNet, for guidance. So let's say install, deploy, and migrate, which includes these 2 topics here, install Windows 8.1 and migrate and configure user data. Let's just go ahead and open that up. And that should take us out to the TechNet library. And from there, we will have a topic that will show us how to install, deploy, migrate to Windows 8. Now, don't be misled here. If you look down here, applies to Windows 8 and 8.1, so it has been updated just in the last month or so. And all the information you need to know to understand those topics are right here. So that is true if you go to any one of these. Let's go down to configure remote access and mobility. Same situation. 3 topic areas, they're weighted. And here's the guidance to go and understand more about that. So the resources are there for you to go and understand what is on an exam. The resources are there to go and get more information on that. And so it'll give you a higher level of confidence that I know what I'm supposed to do and I know where I'm supposed to go to get this. Now back to the slide deck. The same can be said for supporting Windows 8.1. I have a link there. Same situation. We have the objectives and the skills that you need to acquire, and so they will give you links. And if you're coming from that MCSA for Windows 7 to MCSA for Windows 8.1, that very bottom one, upgrading your skills, the same situation. I'm not going to click through those because it's identical, but the takeaway here is you will get an idea of those skills that you need to acquire. You will also get pointers to resources to understand those, and start with a video, go out to these resources, study, and that'll put you in good stead for those exams. And again, bottom right-hand corner will give you a bit more information on that. The next slide is probably the part when I'm going to hammer on the most, and I believe, and maybe it's just me, but if I were to go out and study for these two exams from the previous slide, configuring Windows 8.1 and supporting Windows 8.1, which are the two exams you need to pass to get the MCSA, then I would go out and get these books. And for example, configuring Windows 8.1, this book I have in my hand right now, you can probably see that I'm studying right now. I've got it underlined. And everything, there's no mistake that when you go out to the objective domain, those topic headings map to the table of contents for this book. So it's a one-to-one mapping between what is expected in that exam and the topics here and sample questions with the objectives for review. So it'll give you a bunch of sample questions and the answers, and then some asides on things that you need to understand. So this is probably the best place to go if you really want the confidence as a self-studier. So look at the video, understand, well, I get it. I get what I need to do. I get the level of knowledge that's required. But this is what I would use as a study guide. And this is something you could accomplish in 2 to 3 weeks. Same can be said for that exam reference for 688. I just got it listed there on the slide. There's another book there, and it's Inside Out. It's an Inside Out series, which is a very effective series at Microsoft, and this is for Windows 8.1. Now, everything on the Inside Out book, you see how thick it is, everything on the Inside Out book is covered by both of those exam books that I have listed here, but it's a bit different approach. This is for that IT pro that's considering maybe deploying Windows 8.1 in their organization, so some of the considerations. And some of the light up features are the features that are used in Windows 8.1 and how they work with Windows Server 2012 R2. So there's much more of a dovetailing between the server side and the client side. So another approach might be you get a book something like this or this book, and you use this as a consultant. In other words, kind of a actual analog book consultant. And if you get to know this book and you go through it, you'll be ready for that exam. So 2 different approaches to how to study. Now, I'd be remiss if I weren't to mention that we actually have Microsoft official courses out there, and these courses are very valuable. I'll click on the first one, Configuring Windows 8.1, and that course is. Here we have it. That course is a 5-day course, and the curriculum is developed in-house here at Microsoft Learning Experiences, or the Lex Group. And these 5-day courses are, you go into a classroom, you have an instructor, you have the benefit of the instructor explaining a lot of these concepts, you have the benefit of the instructor showing you the demonstrations, walking you through, you have the benefit of raising your hand and asking a question and saying, I don't quite get this, can you explain that? That is very, very valuable, that one-to-one interaction between the student and the instructor. Now, it is a 5-day course, and you'll notice down here in the course details, it's no mistake that the course outline is broken up. I believe there's 17 modules for this one, but the course outline is broken up such that they map to the domain of those test objectives. So if you're somebody that's working 45, 50, 60 hours a week and you just don't have time for self-study, it's just not going to work for you. If you can go off and take a 5-day course and sit through the entire course, take all the benefit of the instructor, the labs, they have labs there that are break fix so that you understand how something works, and then you understand how something doesn't work, and then you understand how to fix something that doesn't work. Great benefit there. These classes are fantastic, and I encourage anyone to go and take those that just doesn't have the time for self-study. But really what we're all about here right now on these 6 modules is the self-study. But I wanted to call your attention to those courses. And so there's no mistake that these course titles directly map to those exam titles. And again, if you want to find a Microsoft Learning partner near you, lower right-hand corner, you should be able to find someone that has a classroom that you can sign up for and just go take the class and probably walk right out and take the exam. We're near our last slides here, near the end of this module, but I want to call out the TechNet Evaluation Center. Now, if you don't have Windows 8.1, and we just did an update to Windows 8.1 just a few days ago, you can go out to that Eval Center and you get a 90-day evaluation of the enterprise version. It's critical that you do load and you do work with the enterprise version if you're talking about if you're interested in taking these exams, because that's where all the features are. So, Client Hyper-V, for example, you would want to take, or Windows to Go, configuring a Windows to Go device. That's the SKU, or that's the version of Windows 8.1 that you would want. So if you don't have it already, go ahead and take the eval. It's probably a good idea to load that eval for Windows Server 2012 R2 as well, because these things working together. So if there's a bit of touch on group policy, you can kind of take a look at how group policy works from the server side. So I'd encourage you to load both. And that helps you get through, if you are using the book, to help you get through and understand how these two work together, because they don't work independently. In the middle, TechNet Virtual Labs is a really great kick the tires experience. It's kind of an IT pro boot camp. So many of the scenarios we're talking about here that you need to study for, they're available in these labs. And you can go into those labs and you can set up immediately set up an environment, and you can actually configure group policy. And so take advantage of those. All this stuff up to this point has been free. There's absolutely nothing you have to pay for. In the very end, and I'm going to go on and on about MVA because I love MVA, but MVA has a bunch of courses, and if you register with the MVA website, you'll also be sent occasionally an email saying, here's some courses that are coming up. For instance, we have a couple of courses coming up on, we have solid security courses out there for Windows 8.1 right now. I'll be very clear on that, but we have even more security out there where we go much deeper on how to get your desktop secure, get your enterprise secure. That's just an example of what's coming up. We've got a lot more related to this Windows 8.1 update that's just been released, and it has a couple of more enterprise benefits to it. So I really encourage you to go out to MVA, take a look. It's not necessary you go through all the videos, but there are a few that you can pick and choose, and they do relate to this exam. And then this last slide here, we're showing Module 2. That's the next slide, and these next modules are those ones where we get to sit with that MCT, that Microsoft Certified Trainer, Zachary Neiman, and he goes very fast. He gives you an idea of the kind of knowledge. He gives you some tips and tricks for taking a test. He kind of gives you some hints like, hey, this is going to be on the exam. He's really good at this. So these modules are 35 minutes long. It's not like a Wagner opera. You can get through it pretty quick. And I would say start with Module 2 and do them in sequence. Go Module 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's some accumulative knowledge there. And so in parting, I'd like to say, take a look at these videos. After this video concludes, go to Module 2, work your way through, go out, take a look at the TechNet site, get an idea exactly what kind of information you have out there to ready yourself for those exams. Study for those exams, go out and schedule for the test, and get that MCSA. Thank you.